Welcome to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we explore unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today we are joined by our personal friend, Rita Olsen with Arizona Ghost Adventures. Strap in as we examine the edges of the unknown. Rita, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
For our listeners, our viewers, Rita was so kind to host us at the Bullion Plaza in Miami, Arizona, a few weeks back, and host us on a ghost investigation. And now she has so graciously accepted our invitation to come and appear on the show. So thank you so much for joining us, Rita.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So I guess to start off, the thing that we really want to know is why ghost hunting? Why was that the thing? How did you come to that?
Oh, gosh. So I have experienced paranormal most of my life. I don't know if it's related to a near-death accident I had when I was very young. It was a really bad accident. And that's about as far back as I can remember too. And when I was younger, things were happening. Grew up in Chicago. All the buildings are very old out there. We lived in a turn of the century brownstone building, and so we would have things happen there. And you just when you're a kid, you're just used to it. You don't say anything about it because, or people think you're imagining things. I might have said things about it and didn't realize it or don't remember it. And things just kept happening, and I kept having experiences. And as I got older, you really didn't want to talk about it because then you start realizing that other people aren't having these same experiences. And, we're talking before TAPS, the original TAPS, that ghost hunting show started. And so if you had these things happening, people would think you were kind of kooky, or, people might think you're schizophrenic or something like that. So I was always having a lot of experiences. It really ramped up after I had my kids. I was living in Houston, Texas at the time. And we were having consistent poltergeist activity where, toys would turn on and off. They would move around. Cabinets would open up and close. Things would turn on and off. People would come to my house and ask me, like when my kids were at school, and people would come to my house and ask, are the kids home? Because we just saw them peeking around the back of the fireplace because we had a fireplace in the middle of the house. And it's like, no, there's no one here. I was just having a ton of activity. Seeing full-bodied apparitions, seeing mist. In fact, I know I showed you that picture at Bullion of that mist above me.
Yeah.
Do you remember that I had that when we were in the Slavic room? I had that the first time I ever saw anything like that was at my house in Houston. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. And, my husband just kind of thought I was a little, kooky. But he had experienced paranormal too in his old house. He just doesn't like to recognize it. So it just kept happening. And whenever I would go to cities, I was fortunate enough to travel a lot within the United States. And I would try to go to old locations and learn the history. And, did they have any paranormal happenings? Because now the interest is there as you're getting older and you're realizing, hey, this is a for real thing. And I was so happy when TAPS, the Ghost Hunter show, first came out, because I was like, yay, I'm not crazy. This is a real thing. I'm not losing my mind. And it just kept evolving. And at all of my homes, I've had paranormal. At all of my homes, I've had people see or experience paranormal. So it kind of validates it for me. And and then I just was going on a lot of paranormal investigations, which is what I recommend to anyone trying to learn about it. Go on different investigations, go with different people, go with different teams. You may find a niche, or that you uh, like doing one type of location over another type of location. And which is, I think, the same advice I gave you guys. But but yeah, I just was going on a lot of paranormal investigations out here. Was fortunate enough to meet the previous owner of AZ Ghost Adventures, and I started going on a lot of the investigations as a guest investigator. And she realized that I was having a lot of activity around me, so I started going early with them, and I would actually go around the locations and kind of, get a vibe for what's going on and what rooms are going to be active, and where am I having activity. And then it kept progressing from there. And fortunately, when the company came up for sale about over a year ago, I purchased it, and I haven't looked back. I love it. I love. You know what I really love? I love when people come on my investigations and they have something. I always say I've lived this all my life. I've had these things happen. I am not a medium by any means, but I have these things happen all my life. And so when people like you are able to come on our investigations and experience things, and we've had a lot of people find out that they are sensitives of sorts, that they have abilities by coming on these investigations. And that's great, because that's what I want. I want people to have that experience, and for something for them. And so I love it. I love doing it.
I felt very lucky to cut my teeth on paranormal investigations under your watchful care. I thought that you ran a really great agenda. I would say I don't want to say show. But it was this really great location, the Bullion Plaza. It's an old school, right? It used to be a school.
Yeah.
2-story building. It's got some great architecture, and they've turned it into a museum of sorts. Mm-hmm. And you've got a room dedicated to local Slavic tradition, a room dedicated to local Hispanic culture, a room dedicated to the Native Americans, and a room dedicated to like military, and some mining exhibits that are coming up. But then you've also got these great, just kind of like storage spaces and attic spaces and empty rooms. Yeah, the basement, which was kind of a trip. That was a really exciting part of the whole experience. And so what we ended up doing was working with you for about I want to say it was like 6 hours.
About that, yeah.
6 hours exploring the Bullion Plaza, and you were very familiar with like the history of the place, and there were like you had been there many times, it seems, because you were also very familiar with a lot of the spirits or entities that were in the location. How do you go about finding or picking a place that you're basically going to call home on these investigations?
Well, and that's a really good question. I was really fortunate. Like I said, I had been going on investigations before I bought AZ Ghost Adventures. I had been going on investigations as a guest investigator, and then I started working with them as, like a volunteer, person who. It was great for me because I learned how to I hate to use the word host, but how to conduct an investigation with other people around, other than just myself, because there are some protocols that you want to follow and you want to be safe and things like that. And so at the time we had locations that we were already going to. I've added some, I've taken away some. So it's kind of that mix. we're always talking. We're always talking to different locations. We're always looking at things. I mean, we've been going to some different hotels, and some have been phenomenal, like the Copper Queen in Bisbee. And I mean, as soon as we walked in the room, it's like, oh my gosh, let's start a live because stuff was happening. And then some have not been so great. So it's a kind of like a trial and error. And you go in and you find out. And I'm so glad that you brought up that I know the history, because I think that is so important to know the history and to impart that on our guests that come on our investigations, because if something does happen, that puts it in context for you. Because if you're in a room and you don't know, like you said, it's a cultural center now, and they have a lot of priceless artifacts there, and you don't know what's in there, and things start happening, how can you how can you apply it? How can you know what the spirit is trying to tell you, or what spirit is trying to tell you something? So Bullion Plaza is a phenomenal location. I love the history of it from being an old segregated school. It had some phenomenal teachers there. And I love the fact that I still talk to people who went to school there, and or their grandparents taught there or something like that. When I'm in the Globe Miami area, everybody has a story to tell me about Bullion Plaza, one way or another. And then now the fact that it's a cultural center, and I think I may have told you this, every room there is a different story. And every room you encounter different types of spirits there because of the artifacts that they do have there. So like, when we went into the Slavic room, and, me being Slavic in heritage myself, I do things that I think that that culture would appreciate. And, when I go into other rooms, I do things that the spirits there may appreciate. And this has been, it's not like I just walked in one day and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. This has been cultivated over years of going there. And we change things based on, who we may be speaking with, or if something happens. They have a brand new room there that's just opened up of tiles, and a resident, a fairly, famous resident who made tiles. And so now I need to do the research on that and on her and her family and what she liked, and what would encourage, if her spirit's even there, what would encourage her to come forward and speak with us.
Yeah.
Because
I'm gonna throw up that screen real quick.
Okay.
So Bullion Plaza was fantastic because you have this confluence of spiritual activity, history, and also you're there to connect everything together with the paranormal tools that you bring with you, and the experience that your team has, and so it really lends itself to this really great and rich experience, both as far as paranormal but also culturally.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really hard to find a place that kind of captures both paranormal activity and history that also allows you to kind of tap into it, with the tools that you bring?
Well, and I'm glad you showed those pictures, because there were pictures from the new tile exhibit there. So that's really great. They're really proud of that exhibit. I think as someone who's experienced paranormal, and I tell people this on our investigations, I am not a medium. I consider myself very intuitive. I maybe see shadow figures more than other people, or maybe hear things more than other people. I do have premonitory dreams. If I remember a dream, I want to write it down, because I never remember my dreams. But I've had some that, that were so strong when I wake up that I write it down. Or if I'm doing an investigation, it's almost like I'm having a story go on in my head. Does that make sense to you? Like I start seeing a movie going on, but it's not like I'm seeing it, but I'm seeing it in my mind's eye. And so many times on investigations, I'll just start going down a line of questioning and we start getting activity from it. And that's because something's coming to me. So do I consider myself sensitive of sorts? Yes, but I always tell people I am not a medium. Please don't ask me to contact your grandmother. I can't do it. I wish I could. I can't. But and I think you saw with the investigation that you were on, especially in the Slavic room, that was an active room that night, as is the downstairs. That you just it's like putting together a puzzle. And I always say, in fact, I was just doing a live on TikTok last night. And I said, when we have our people who come on our investigations, I'm so fortunate because number one, we have a lot of people who come over and over again. They really are interested and appreciate it, and they learn so much from it. But I feel like all the people that come on these investigations are a piece of a puzzle, and we're putting it together. So I'm just one piece of that puzzle, and I may have you, and you were speaking Spanish, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
In the Slavic one.
Yeah, we really offended a
You were
lot
that
of spirits there with our mariachi music.
right. That's right. It didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so you see what I'm saying? So it's like every time we go on an investigation, we're putting together this puzzle. And how many pieces of this puzzle do we have? I play one part, or you played a part, other guests play a part. There may be someone that, because we have had people with attachments come on our investigations where they're playing a big part of it. So you never know. You're always being flexible and, being able to pivot and which part of that puzzle is prominent at that point. So it's just that's how it works for me. I know, different groups do things differently. And, and I've had a lot of people come in our investigations and they say yours is completely different. Again, we impart a lot of the history on it. I feel it plays a big part, and I feel like I owe it to the location. It's being respectful to the location that I impart that history. And I also feel that the spirits are using us to get their story out. And they may be using me, or they may be using you, or they may be using someone else in the group, but they want, they were people. There may be something that they want us to know. So, yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
So you bring up a good point, which is that you're learning something about, you feel like the spirits have something to tell you.
Yes.
And one of the things that I was hoping to achieve was a certain measure of insight from the spirits or the entities that we came across. How long do you think it takes? How much time? Is it just like going on a first date where some people you connect with and some people you just don't? Or is it just like with any relationship, you put in the work, you put in the time, and you get a reward out of it?
Yeah.
How does that work? How much effort do you have to put into it to get the gem, the insight out of the experience?
Well, I think the spirits, it's a little bit of everything, but definitely a whole lot of the second thing that you said, where you have to go on multiple dates. They don't know you from Adam, and you go in, and I start all my investigations in every different room with "Thank you for allowing me into your home," and I'm just a visitor here, and we are all just visitors here, and we are going to be as respectful as possible. And I would love if you would communicate with me. What is it you want us to learn from you or hear from you? And and remember, there were people. The majority of them were people, and I treat them as such. So I wouldn't just at work today, I wouldn't just walk into a patient's room and start saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. No, I introduce myself. I, build a rapport. I let them know that I'm there for them to help them and that I really help them. So I take the same, it's empathy and experience, and I apply that to the locations that I go into. And that's why when trying to get the glare off my glasses, that's why when people come on our investigations, I lay some ground rules. My one big rule is you never poke the bear. We're going to be respectful. Even if these spirits were like jerks in life and jerks being a spirit, I still want them to communicate with me. And, they may have had a reason for how they were the way they were. So, sometimes I would say most of the time it does take time. And you go in and, we utilize different things too. Like I love my dowsing rods. And so to get them, they're learning how to do things too. And so to use that and, or specific pieces of electronics, as you saw, we may have one spirit that loves those little sensor balls in one room, but another spirit loves something else in the other room. In fact, I remember if when we were there, we were in the Native American room and we had different REM pods set up throughout the room. And it's like the spirit was like running in circles, going around hitting all the REM pods. I think we had a child in there.
So I have one question. During our investigation with you, who was it? Was his name Jeff that kept interrupting the spirit? He was a spirit named Jeff?
Ed?
Was that Ed?
Ed. It was Ed.
So what is the story with Ed?
What is the story with Ed, right?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like some things you just don't want to know. No. Ed was a spirit that was attached to the group before I bought it. And Ed would come forward with a lot of other people in the group, and they were encouraging it. And I am more of a let's play it safe than sorry type of person. And because I know what I've had in my house and I know what spirits can do. And especially out where I live now, I don't want anything around me that shouldn't be around me. I have spirits in my house, but I don't want anything that shouldn't be here. And I thought Ed was attached to someone else that was part of the owners of the group. And so when I bought the company, I thought, okay, Ed's gone. Because I've had this Ed spirit, and that's just the name that the spirit uses. Spirits are tricksters.
Yeah.
But I spelled words. Like I'll spell Ed. Are you a D, E, and you'll hear demon. So it's an intelligent spirit. It can spell. But I don't know. I don't know if it's attached to the company itself. I don't think it's attached to me because I spend enough time with, mediums, and I think they would tell me that. Or they would sense it, or I would have things negative happening around me. But I think this spirit is attached to the company. Like
he likes to just show up and disrupt.
Yeah, it's a disruptor. He is a disruptor. And he likes to push. So we'll have, spirits have almost like a hierarchy. And you'll be doing things and spirits will come forward and like tamp down the other ones that they don't want them talking. And in fact, I had that happen in Bisbee. We were doing an SD session and Billy, the little boy who is at the Copper Queen Hotel there, came through. I was so amazed. And there were two other spirits. One was Margarita. I remember that. And, Michael. And literally during this SD session, and the person wearing the headphones couldn't hear what I was asking. This Billy, the little boy, came through, but then the other spirits were like, go away, step back, Billy, go back. And I posted the video. I mean, I thought it was amazing. But getting back to Ed, I think that's how Ed is. He wants to run the show. He's a kind of a
It's a spotlight guy.
narcissist.
He likes the attention.
He loves the attention, and he's a
Yeah.
narcissist. So, and the funny thing is, down in the basement in Bullion, now that you say that, well, I don't know if he really comes through too much there, because we do have you guys, we're in the basement at Bullion. There's
Yeah.
an entity down there, and I think it's more of an elemental nature. And I warned the guys with Ghost Adventures, because I took them down there, that it is sociopathic in nature. It doesn't like men. It doesn't like that something else tries to control it. For years, it used to try to scare me, and then it went from that to being very charismatic. And I've worked with the mental health population for many, many years, including working in a state mental hospital. I understand these tendencies, and it is exactly like what I'm getting from what's down there in the basement. So I warned them, and I can't talk about what happened because it airs on Thursday, but I hope they show what happened when I was down there with them. But I don't see Ed down there too often. So I wonder if he's not as strong as he makes himself out to be. I think
Like,
what's down in the
He's
basement
getting
scares
pushed
him.
out of the basement. Oh, you think it scares him as well?
I'll have to do some following up on that one now.
So you
I'd like to
mentioned
do that for
SD
that.
session. I just want to clear up.
Can you
that
guys hear me? Are
glossary.
you frozen? Am I frozen?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay,
I can hear
I
you.
can hear you. Did I freeze?
No, you're still looking. Yep, you did freeze. No, you're okay. You're okay.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You're
You're
okay.
good.
You're just holding the pose. Okay. So SD session, just as a
Okay.
glossary term, that's sensory deprivation. So your ears are covered. You might be blindfolded, and you're just listening to like a ghost box or spirit box, and people are asking questions, and you're just telling what you're hearing, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the SD session, you hit the nail on the head. You're wearing a blindfold, noise canceling headphones, and you have a spirit box attached into the noise canceling headphones. So all you can hear is what's coming through on the spirit box. And there's someone or some people that are asking questions. And we get some amazing, sometimes the responses aren't. You're like, what are you talking about? But sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, there is no way that this can
Right.
be happening. I was doing an SD session in the basement at Bullion, and that was the first time I was ever grabbed down there. And it scared me. It scared me insofar as if you're blindfolded and you have headphones on and someone grabs you, you're going to jump. And I kept my headphones and my blindfold on, and I sat right back down and I said, stop touching me. So, but it's the other neat thing about that, the premise being that people can't hear what you're asking. So it doesn't subconsciously make you hear something.
Yeah, it doesn't influence
the
an
other
answer.
thing doesn't. Yeah. The other thing is when you are going through sensory deprivation, like you can't hear and you can't see, your other senses are heightened. So, and I talk with my hands a lot. So think about it. If you're blindfolded and you are wearing headphones and there's something moving around you, you're that instinct that we have is going to kick in. And we've had many times where someone, including myself, I'll say, there's something right next to me here. There's something touching me right here. Or someone's
that happened.
walking.
That happened at our session. You were feeling like scratches or something on the back of your arm, or something cold on the back of your leg, or something like that.
And they'll have the SLS camera going, and sure enough, it picks up something touching me or walking past. It's amazing. So I am actually more interested in what you get out of the sensory deprivation out of it, that sensation is heightened of what's going on around you, because you other senses are shut down. And it's pretty amazing. In fact, we just did something new the other day, and I'm going to give full credit to Get Out Paranormal AZ, because they come on a lot of our investigations. And he called me and he said, hey, how about if we do it where the person's in a room and we're in the other room, but we're doing it live. So, we have a one phone in the room on them and the other phone in our room, and we're asking questions in a completely different part of the building.
Double blind.
And it was amazing.
Wow.
And I got to be the second person to wear the headphones. And let me tell you, being by yourself, and I feel very comfortable in all of our locations, but just being by yourself and being blindfolded and having the headphones on, you feel incredibly, you're alone. You feel incredibly vulnerable. And so that also increases the energy of what's going on around, because spirits thrive off of energy. So, you're getting that energy out there. And it was really amazing. I mean, I could feel someone walking next to me. I could feel someone tapping on the table next to me. There were some weird smells that were coming through. I mean, it was just pretty spectacular. So we're going to continue doing that, just to see what type of responses we get, because then that takes away, I like how you said a double blind, that takes away us contaminating the field.
Yeah.
It makes, we're right off the bat kind of debunking ourselves, because we're not in the room with them. They can't say, oh, I feel someone walking around and it's one of us tapping our foot, and they're just feeling vibration. So, of that person tapping their foot.
So Brian, you remember our camera guy, Brian, he wants to know if anybody slept in the basement at Bullion Plaza.
Brian, I want to know why you didn't sleep in the basement at Bullion Plaza.
He chickened out. We all chickened out.
Yeah, we have people going down in there throughout the night. I call them like hubs, and people will have cameras set up there, and we'll go down and do like little mini sessions. We'll keep equipment down there and just go down there and do mini sessions, and then we'll move about the building and do other things. It's kind of like, where do we feel like we need to be next? Yeah. So yeah, I don't, and honestly, I've spent many hours in that basement. I've never slept in it, and I prefer not to go in it by myself.
There's kind of
just because
a dustiness, even if you're not bothered by or perturbed by the spirits inhabiting there is a bit of a dustiness going on down there.
There is, yeah. It's basement of an old building.
All right, I got another question. This one, of course, Brian. It's a different Brian, but he says, do you think using psychedelics could heighten the ability to connect with spirits? I don't know. I've never used psychedelics myself.
I mean, you are expanding your mind, and it does connect into that, like that third eye type of, thinking and perception.
Unfortunately, I can't use anything because I could be drug tested at any time doing what I do. So my psychedelic of choice is a really good stiff martini these days. We don't allow any drug use on our investigations, only because I don't want anyone getting hurt. And like I said, there are irreplaceable items there. But I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, honestly, when you think about it, look at some of the most famous artists and musicians and writers that they took mind expanding drugs. So I'm not going to give that one a thumbs down. I might even just give it a thumbs up, but I don't know. Boy, oh boy. I don't know if I'd want to be seeing that if I was, on something. What do you do?
There's some accounts I've never used psychedelics, but some of the experiences or the accounts that I've heard, it's like you go in expecting to have like a Cheech and Chong moment, and you end up talking with God, and And that's like, okay, I went to go on a fun ghost hunt and I ended up talking to God or the devil or something. And talk about heightening your ability. Like that's way more than you'd bargain for, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'd want to talk with the devil. So that would skeeze me out for the rest of my life. That would terrify me. But yeah, I think, and different people, here's the thing, different people have different things happen with it. So, I'm not gonna say, and people shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, what I would love if you really want to validate it is that you do this. And I'm not encouraging anyone to do this by any means, but if someone were to do this, that they have video cameras, just like how we videotape our, we have our infrared cameras. You have cameras going, and see if something does happen. See if objects do start moving around you, or something appears in front of you, manifests in front of you, or something like that. If not, at least it'd give you a good laugh of something to watch after.
Right. Someone's just like having an existential crisis and everyone else is just chilling.
So when we went on the investigation with you, was that a normal set of encounters that you had? Was it more? Was it less? Was it? Or was
I missed the first part of that question. I'm sorry.
He wanted.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I said, so when we went on, was it like, because you've been there a lot of times, so you've seen a lot of activity there. So when we were there, was there more activity that night? Was there less activity? Was there the average amount of activity, or
how did it?
I would say it was probably right around. They hated you. No, I would have to say it was probably right. Oh, so you guys just both went black screens on me. Sorry. I would have to say that it was probably around the average amount. We've had some crazy nights there. Sam, I showed you the pictures of things that we've had happen there, and those were all in one night.
Yeah, you had pictures of like a woman who appeared by the stairway. There was the mist. Yeah, you had a lot of activity in that particular.
The third person sitting between myself and another investigator. Yeah, it was. Then that same night we had we have a video. And fortunately, it was in the basement. 2 cameras on me at different angles, and I had a flashlight, that ledge in the middle. And it was back up over the lip of the ledge. And all of a sudden it just goes flying off the ledge. And 2 angles, cameras caught it at 2 angles, and you can see me jumping back saying, what the hell? And that was the same night that all of that, it was just a night, it was just a tornado of activity that night. So yeah, it really just depends. What did you guys think? What do you remember from that night? I should say, what was your most memorable experience from that night?
Okay, so we did some independent exploration of some of the rooms that you had pointed out to me when we did our little tour before everyone showed up. And we went into the room where you said you had seen somebody in the coat room on that coat hallway behind the blackboard. And we were kind of hanging out in there, just looking around, trying to see what we picked up. And there wasn't really any activity, but as we were walking out the door, I hear a child's voice say, "Bye, guys." And I was like, whoa!
There wasn't any activity, but
well, it was like while we were in there, nothing was happening. And then as we're exiting the room, I hear "Bye, guys." But it's it's like a child's voice, like "Bye, guys," like just really high pitched. And I stopped in my tracks. And I was like, "Did you guys just hear that?" Kyle didn't hear it, but Brian did, and he's like, it sounded like a squeak or something. And so we went back to the door to see if it was like a squeaky hinge or something. And the hinge did squeak, but it was a totally different pitch. It did not sound at all like Bye Guys.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was like the moment. I was like, oh my gosh. And then once everybody showed up, and we kind of split up into two groups. We went upstairs first to the doll area where the attic is open, and there's a ladder going up the attic. And they got out the spirit box, and we were talking, and the spirit box said Sam several times. And so I was like, okay, calling me out. Let's do this. And so I'm like chatting and trying to figure out what's going on up there. And then it says Richard. My last name is Richardson. So it says Richard. And I was like, oh my gosh, still talking to me. And then it said Rich, because it's flipping through those channels really quick, it just kind of cuts the words off, but it said Richard and it said Rich. And so we were all like putting a lot of pressure on me to try and make some connections with that particular entity. And then, so I think that was a successful first date with me and whatever child spirit was in the doll room. And then Kyle, go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say that's the room where we have the picture, and it looks like there is something sitting between Iris and myself, and it looks like a child. Remember?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of kids. I have 7 kids, and so I felt like maybe there was like a dad-daughter connection being made there. Like maybe the spirit knew that I was ready to play and have a good time, in like a fatherly way. But I was really impressed by that. And then Kyle was drawn to a music room. It was one of the rooms that wasn't like open to the public. It's right off the stairway. You know what I'm talking about. It's like chalkboards, a lot of music. And Kyle was drawn there. Kyle, tell us about the music room.
So every time I would go into that music room, it was like instant cold, instant chills. You could just feel something there. And we tried and we talked and we tried to see if we could get some kind of interaction. That's where Sam was singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. But yeah, every time I walked in, and then I would walk out and the chills were gone. It was back to the warmer climate. As soon as I'd walk back in, same thing, goosebumps, chills, cold. And then when we were sitting in that the doll room, there's a room to the left that's locked. It looks like it has a bunch of stuff in it. Mm-hmm. The entire time that we were standing there, I saw something pacing back and forth, like a black shadow figure pacing back and forth. And I kept telling Brian, film in there. I don't know if he caught anything. Film in there. There's something walking back and forth. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like I kept trying to like, hopefully it would come over. I was hoping to get it to like knock something over, but it was just kind of like, almost like it was just kind of pacing back and forth in there.
So the story with that room is, and in fact, last time we were there, it was just one of my investigators and I were up by ourselves. It was late and we were, doing little hubs and locations, and the door started going boom, boom. You could hear it like something was hitting the door, and we were in the hallway, and we went in that room. And of course, none of the windows were open. There's nothing that would have made the door go boom, boom, and you could hear like almost like a pebble being thrown in there, also like something going tick 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 on the ground, tick tick on the ground, and the story there is that that school had some wonderful educators in it, some well-renowned, respected educators in there. But with any school, you've got the good and the bad. And again, we're back in the 1920s. Times were different, and people were allowed to act differently. And the report is that there was a teacher who used to like to walk up and down the rows, and so when you're saying that pacing, and I was like, I totally get what you're saying. because they used to like to walk up and down the rows, and the girls had their hair down, that this gentleman, I'm going to use that term loosely, would like to play with their hair. And we have had, when we're in that area, the attic area that I talk about, and we've had on occasion, if we have like a female with us, and like one time there was one sitting right next to me, and she had this beautiful long blonde hair, straight as a board. Every piece of equipment around her was going off. Nothing else, just around her. And I was like, what's going on with that? And we happened to have a psychic with us that night. And he's like, it's the teacher. It's her hair.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I didn't know the story about the teacher going up and down the rows. I found that out after I debriefed about this gal who was sitting with me, and she had this super long, beautiful hair. And I was telling the director, I said, so yeah, we had something really odd happen up there. And I told him the story, and he's like, oh, well, let me tell you what used to go on up there in that room. So what you're saying makes complete sense to me, because there is something in there, and it's agitated, and it's not nice, and just not pleasant, I should say, not a pleasant spirit in there. And it makes itself known every now and then. It'll come out by us. But yeah, I definitely need to open up some investigating into that room, because they were using it for storage for a lot of things for a while. So I wasn't able to get into it, but I definitely need to get in there and start doing some investigating and see what I can find out. But again,
yeah, that was like, I hope, I don't know if Brian's done going through all the video that night, but I had him film that room through that, that little window in that room for a while. So I hope he caught it pacing back and forth.
That's a creepy area. I keep telling myself one of these days I'm going to go up that ladder and like put my camera up there.
It's kind of scary, right? That's good.
That's a gut check time. I would totally do that.
So I'll be interested.
Definitely gut check time.
I'll be interested to see if they sent Aaron up there during the episode, because I'm always very cautious too. I am hyper aware of what the spirits can do. I had a spirit follow me home once, and and I did. I kind of poked the bear when I said something fell out of my mouth that shouldn't have, and it came home with me. And, and I saw it like I was in bed. I've told this story many times. I was in bed, and I just had a nightlight on. I was in bed reading my Kindle. My husband had fallen asleep in the living room in his recliner. So I was like, I'm going to go read. And the room's dark except for the glow from the nightlight. And I see a man walk across the foot of my bed, good size too. And I said, oh, you're coming to bed? And I dropped my Kindle down, and there's no one there. And I was, you get that, like normally things don't spook me out, but this wasn't even spooky. This was like, what the F just happened? What's going down here? And so I jumped up and woke my husband up and told him to come to bed. And, but that same night at about 3 a.m, something kicked my bed super hard. I thought my dog ran into the bed. And a man's voice, super loud in my ear, yelled, "Hey," in this really deep voice. And I knew. I was like, okay, this is, I bet something. I just knew. I knew what it was. I knew who it was. And I called.
Did you get out the holy water and start splashing everything?
But I called a medium. And it was just, it's all about boundaries, and we set boundaries on our investigations. I'm always telling the spirits, this is your home. You are not allowed to come home with us. You're not allowed to leave here with anybody. And so they had me do some things and set some boundaries in my house, and it left. And the funny thing is, a few months ago, I had a completely different medium over for lunch. And we have her come on a lot of our investigations. Her name is Anae, and she started walking around my house, and she's like, you have spirits here. I was like, yes, I do. I live on old Hohokam ground. I'm up on the Tano National Forest. And I was like, I do. And she goes, and you have your spirits that came here with you. And I was like, yeah, I know I have that. She goes, but there was a male here, and she proceeded to describe him. And she goes, but these other spirits told him he had to leave when you told him he had to leave. And I had never told her this story. And he's gone. I mean, he went back, and I learned my lesson. You don't poke the bear.
That's what you meant by poking the bear.
You don't poke the bear.
So you mentioned also an elemental earlier, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty new to the whole ghost hunting scene, and I know a lot of our viewers probably aren't familiar with that term either. Can you give us a better sense of what an elemental is?
Okay. And I don't know if it's on my end or on your end that you are freezing. Kyle, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. I can hear you.
Perfect.
We both hear you.
I think it's Sam is frozen then. Okay. So, so I think I caught what you were asking, Sam. You froze up on me a little bit there. But so to me, what an elemental is something that came from the earth. And how did it come from the earth? And is it good? Is it bad? Is it cultural? Because you have we are talking the Miami and Globe area, and even where I'm at, a lot of Native American ground. I mean, I'm not too far from the Sears Cay ruins here, where the Hohokams had built residences or buildings, so yeah, we always want to be respectful of what it may be and where it may have come from. And, and it's just always like kind of like how you respect a big old German Shepherd that you don't know anything about. Yeah. You don't go sticking your face right in its face, or petting it, and say, you're a good boy. You don't know what it is. So, right. So we're the same way with that. I feel that there are multiple spirits in the basement at Bullion. There's children's spirits. I think there's a female spirit that moves about in there. I feel that there's a spirit of maintenance or, like janitorial, that type of thing, a caretaker down there that I've conversed with. And then I feel that there is this spirit, and I use the term elemental for lack of a better word. I don't think it was ever a human. I don't know if it came from, that's old Apache ground. Also, I don't know if it came from a culture. Is it something that came up from the Native American culture? I don't know yet. It's just one of those things that as we keep, we just keep unpeeling that onion and keep finding out more. Does it get energy from people being scared? Does it definitely negative in energy? I have a video. I had put a IR camera down in the basement one day and left it. And we were, I think we even left the building maybe to go eat. And you can clearly hear a little girl's voice say, please get out of here. Now, is she talking to us? We weren't in there. Or is she talking to the other spirit that may be down there? So I don't know. I mean, it was clear as a bell, a little girl's voice saying, please get out of here. So, and talking to the people who went to school there, or their, like I said, their parents or grandparents taught there, you hear stories. So yeah, it's just one of those things that we just keep finding out about. And even when we take mediums down there, that's incredibly overwhelming for them to go down, and they're also looking out for our safety. So, maybe something is used to me being down there, and it's hanging out around me, which it tends to do. But I'm not afraid of it. I respect its ability. So that's, and I'm very cautious of it. But yeah, so when we have mediums go down there, they are exhausted after that because it's just so much is going on there. That and in the Native American room, we tend to get a lot swirling around our mediums there. So
Yeah.
maybe it's all interconnected.
Well, Bullion Plaza is a wonderful place.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we really enjoyed our time and the experiences we had.
You know, and the cool thing was, one of the cool things was everybody was kind, everybody was informative, everybody, like, there was no like, I'm the best investigator, I'll stay with, like, it was like this collectiveness. And I thought that's what was cool.
Yeah, and it is, and it's a, you know, like I said, we're a puzzle. Everyone is a piece of that puzzle, and I get so thrilled when other people have things happen because they may have something happen that I've never experienced there before. So I'm like, wow, this is great, and we've been so fortunate. We have been so fortunate that we have so many people that are truly interested in the parent. You know, yeah, you do get those people that come just because they want to get afraid, or they're just curious about it. But I would have to say the majority of the people who come on our investigations are truly interested in learning about the paranormal and the history that revolves around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now you during the pandemic, you went ahead and you took the opportunity to schedule a lot of these adventures, right? Like, seems like you've got one going on every weekend or every other weekend, right?
Sometimes. 2023. So.
So what are some of the investigations you got coming up?
So we do, and I don't do every weekend. It's like a feast or famine. We'll do a couple of weekends and then we'll take a couple of weekends off. So it's just all depending. And I got better with 2023 because apparently when I was scheduling 2022, I didn't even look at any holidays on my calendar. I was just, I'm going to blame it on COVID.
You're just grabbing everything you could get.
Right. Yeah. And so what was the question again?
So Saturday, I know Saturday you guys are going to Acadia Ranch in Oracle, right?
Yeah. Oh, some of the locations that we're going to, I think it was.
Yeah.
So we have Acadia Ranch. We go to Stanton, which is an old mining town, rich history there, with Charles Stanton, who was an immigrant who came over from Ireland. Rich, dark history there. And it's an incredibly active place. And near there is, not too far away, is a little cemetery that we visit also just afterwards. Where else are we going? So we have Acadia Ranch, we have Bullion Plaza, we have Stanton, we have the American Flag Ranch, which is near Acadia Ranch. And we keep that really small. There's usually only about 6 or 7 people just because it's small. I don't want to cram a bunch of people into a small building. That just takes away from everyone's experience. Where else? The Globe Jail, the 1916 train depot. Look at you pulling this stuff up.
Got a little cheat sheet for you. So Gila County Jail on the 15th of October.
Yep, Gila County Jail on the 15th. And then we have the train depot on the 22nd. And then on the 29th, we have our Bullion Plaza first annual Halloween paranormal investigation.
Oh, that's going to be so fun.
Sold out. Yeah.
People going to be dressing up for the Halloween?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And make myself fall down a flight of stairs or something.
Falling down in like a bee costume. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
And I've already booked out next year. So I think this is something that we're going to do because, a lot of what we do brings people to those cities and brings people to those restaurants and brings people to the little mom and pop shops on Main Street in like Miami, where Bullion Plaza is. So it's like, you know what, let's make this an annual event. And I think this is going to go great. It's, you want to be able to have a true paranormal investigation, not commercialize it, yet grown-ups like to celebrate Halloween. So it's a holiday. So yeah, we're gonna make it a little extra special for everyone. I mean, it's pretty much our paranormal investigation with a little extra special. And we're gonna have a medium attending that night, Raven Wolf. She is phenomenal. So we're super excited about that.
I see the 12th.
so
You're going
cool.
back to Acadia Ranch.
Yep, we go back to Acadia Ranch, and then we've got some other locations that we're talking with. So I really can't talk about that right now. But yeah, 2023 is going to be exciting. And then I took some time in November for myself, our team, and Get Out Paranormal AZ, the other team that we work closely with. We're going to go to Nevada, and we're going to do some investigating at, where are we going? Nevada State Prison. We're going to
Hoover
go
Dam.
to where? To the dam?
Yeah, Hoover Dam.
No, I don't think I'm going to investigate that, but we are going to go to the Mitspa Hotel and to Washoe Club and someplace else.
You guys should go to that lake where they're finding all the bodies.
Yeah, right. It's like a week of investigating. So it's like wherever we end up, we've got our certain places, but wherever we end up, we end up. And true road trip, paranormal road trip. So
if anybody is wanting to sign up for any of these wonderful events, and Rita does run some terrific events. The event that we went on, I felt like you really rolled out the red carpet for us. And we really appreciated all the effort that you guys put in for us. So we really encourage all of our listeners, all of our viewers to check out azghostadventures.com. Sign up if you're interested at all in paranormal, ghosts, anything of that nature. This is a transformative experience. Can be anyway.
Yeah, and we provide the equipment, so you don't have to worry about bringing that, and we teach you how to use it.
Yeah, they've got all of the stuff that you've heard us mention on the show: SLS cameras, REM pods, K2 meters, sound recording equipment, all kinds of stuff. So make sure that you're signing up, checking it out. If you want to get in touch with the spiritual side in a real way, this is a great way to do it.
Oh, thanks. And you can also, if you just are kind of like interested but not sure, just go on Facebook and follow us, AZ Ghost Adventures. And then we also have a public page, AZ Ghost Adventures Evidence and Discussion. And that's where people can post questions or comments or pictures or memes. It's just, it's a public page. We want people to be able to use it. And then we also have TikTok, AZ Ghost Adventures, and Instagram, AZ Ghost Adventures, trying to make it really easy. So there's our Bullion Plaza. Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah.
If anybody has any questions, make sure that you leave a message, leave a comment, and we will definitely put you in contact with Rita and her team. She has a wonderful team. You've got at least half a dozen people. It's probably 10 or 12, right?
Yeah, we go anywhere between like 3 to 10. It's we're fluid. You don't need 8 team members if you're at American Flag Ranch and you only have 7 guests there. You don't need 8 team members on top of it. That kind of takes up a lot of room. So yeah.
So with that, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.